What's up, everybody? I am Milan Jordan, and this is the MMA Daily Blitz, brought to you by FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can follow me on Twitter/X and at Threads at Milan Jordan. Also, check out our website, fanstreamsports.com, for more great content. All right, the next UFC pay-per-view is on tap this week. UFC 294 takes place Saturday afternoon stateside. It's in Abu Dhabi. The top of the card got shaken up last week when Charles Oliveira and Paulo Costa had to bow out of the main event and co-main event respectfully due to injury. The main event is for the UFC Lightweight Championship. Islam Makhachev puts his belt on the line against a familiar foe, Alexander Volkanovski, who is trying to add the 155-pound strap with his featherweight title. So I mentioned this will be the second meeting between Makhachev and Volkanovski in 8 months. Makhachev won by unanimous decision at UFC 284 back in February. Makhachev comes into this fight on a 12-fight win streak, 24-1 overall, while Volkanovski is looking to avenge one of his only 2 career losses. Volk fought at UFC 290 in July, getting a TKO victory over Yair Rodriguez to retain his featherweight championship. Look, this is a classic striker versus grappler matchup. If Volkanovski wins the rematch, not only would he be champ and cement himself atop the pound-for-pound rankings, but you've got to think a trilogy fight between these two would be on tap as well. Perhaps maybe UFC 300 next year. But Alexander Volkanovski taking this fight on less than 2 weeks' notice, willing to take that, willing to be in Abu Dhabi for this. And, traveling is not easy from Australia, let alone from the States, to get to Abu Dhabi. But the fact that he's training and he's ready to go, should he win this fight, that will definitely cement him not just for top of the pound-for-pound rankings, but perhaps among the greatest fighters of all time, certainly greatest achievements of all time. But Islam Makhachev will definitely have something to say about that. Should be a great fight. This card got from pretty decent to great in a matter of hours last week with guys bowing out due to injury. But, with all due respect to Charles Oliveira, that fight with Islam Makhachev would have been really good. But Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski, that should be a great fight. Well, speaking of great fights, we got the co-main event featuring a couple of top 5 welterweights fighting at middleweight. Khamzat Chimaev takes on Kamaru Usman. It's at 185 because the original matchup, Khamzat Chimaev against Paulo Costa, was supposed to be at 185. So this fight will stay at 185. Khamzat and Usman, look, they're both a couple of well-rounded fighters, elite grapplers that are also pretty good strikers. Usman has a nearly 98% success rate in takedown defense. Should be a very entertaining fight. And again, this is the first time that Usman will be fighting at 185. Khamzat Chimaev, he's had issues cutting weight at 170 recently. So him fighting at 185, maybe there was some hints of him maybe staying at 185 going into this fight. We shall see. But again, Khamzat Chimaev, Kamaru Usman should be one whale of a fight for the co-main event at UFC 294. All right, the rest of the main card shapes like this. Magomed Ankalaev, just one loss in his 19-fight career, 17-1-1, takes on Johnny Walker in a light heavyweight matchup. Another middleweight matchup, Ikram Alaskarov, 14-1, takes on Warley Alves, who is 14-6. And kicking things off on the main card is a bantamweight fight between Said Nurmagomedov, 17-3, taking on Muin Gafurov, who is 18-5. Mentioned the middleweight division. Well, talk about a former middleweight champion. Last time we saw Israel Adesanya, last time we saw him, he lost a lopsided unanimous decision and his middleweight championship to Sean Strickland at UFC 293 last month. Well, after the loss, Adesanya pled guilty to drunk driving from an incident on August 19th in New Zealand leading up to that fight. Well, last week, Adesanya said that he won't be fighting for a long time so he could focus on himself. He's fought 4 times over an 18-month span, losing 2 of his last 3 fights. Again, he's Adesanya saying he wants to take care of himself, not just physically, but perhaps spiritually and mentally as well. Adesanya vowed, though, that once he is healed, both mentally and physically, spiritually as well, the rest of the 185-pound division should watch out. Look, Israel Adesanya, love him or hate him, He's certainly one of the most polarizing figures and one of the most entertaining fighters inside and outside the octagon, and very fun to watch. And listen to him speak all the time in various interviews. He's very philosophical, very well thought out, and again, big fan of his. And so we hope the best for him, and hopefully we'll see him sooner rather than later. All right, well, last week we found out that the UFC and USADA will cut ties at the start of 2024 for the USADA anti-doping program. Well, later in the week, the UFC announced that its anti-doping program and drug testing policy isn't going anywhere. In a long press conference on Thursday, Jeff Nowitzki and Hunter Campbell of the UFC announced that the Ultimate Fighting Championship will be partnering with Drug Free Sport International starting January 1st, 2024, to handle sample collections for all competing athletes on the UFC roster. Drug Free International, they work with the NFL, NCAA, MLB, NBA, PGA, LPGA, FIFA, among others. Obviously very highly regarded in the industry. Nowitzki and Campbell stated that the updated program it's going to make some improvements over what USADA did and help to better serve the athletes, stressing that certain practices will change, such as fighters being drug tested at all hours of the day or night, or during strenuous situations like in the middle of a weight cut during fight week. You heard numerous stories of fighters being woken up on fight day to get a sample for USADA would wake them up at 6 a.m. or whatever, early hours, fight night. Keep in mind, these guys fight like at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. USADA would knock on the door at fight morning to wake them up to collect the sample, for example. And this is after going through a weight cut and trying to rehydrate and everything like that. So definitely wasn't very popular with the fighters, but so that's one of the things that the UFC and also Drug Free Sport International vowing to get rid of that, or at least change that, how they go about their business. Now, as far as the person overseeing this program, Jeff Nowitzki revealed that George Pirro, a recently retired special agent in charge from the FBI, will now serve as the independent administrator. He's perhaps best known for being the lead interrogator questioning Saddam Hussein after his capture by American forces in Iraq back in 2004. Pirro will have the ultimate power to make decisions regarding drug testing infractions and punishments handed down as part of the UFC's anti-doping program. Fighters will still have the ability to seek arbitration under the updated program, which will be handled by an independent party. Again, the UFC's partnership with Drug Free Sport International will officially begin January 1st, 2024, when the UFC's deal with USADA expires December 31st of this year. All right, word came down on Tuesday that Paramount announced that it's shutting down Showtime Sports. Showtime Sports oversaw boxing events and Bellator MMA. Paramount announced that they are shutting down Showtime Sports at the end of 2023. The events already scheduled on Showtime will continue. Showtime Boxing, look, it's been around forever, right? 37 years, since 1986, producing some of the biggest pay-per-views in boxing history, including Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao in 2015, and also Mayweather versus Conor McGregor in 2017. Bellator MMA currently airs on Showtime, and prior to that on Paramount. The lone Bellator event scheduled for the remainder of this year is Bellator 301 on November 11th. It's unclear at this time what's going to become of Bellator's fighters. Of course, it is well known that Viacom, Bellator's parent company, who also oversees Paramount and all that, Viacom has been trying to sell off Bellator for about the last year or so. Rumors have been swirling around that Bellator could be bought by the PFL, Professional Fighters League. So could Bellator 301 next month be Bellator's last event? We'll see. Stay tuned for that. But a lot going on outside the cage and the octagon on this week leading up to UFC 294. But Bellator, again, a lot of news for Bellator, and not a lot of it good outside of the Bellator 300 fight card a few weeks ago. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the MMA Daily Blitz, brought to you by FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you consume your podcast. You can follow me on Twitter/X and at Threads at Milan Jordan. Also, check out the brand new FanStream Sports app, available for Apple and Android for around-the-clock programming. As always, I appreciate you checking out the MMA Daily Blitz. Enjoy the fights this weekend. I will talk to you later.